Welcome everyone. We are going to start with Unit 3, that is Input Devices and Printers. And this is the lecture number 1. And in this lecture we are going to discuss keyboard and working of keyboard and types of keyboards. And before that, you can go to my YouTube channel and you will find other videos too of Unit 1 as well as Unit 2. So starting with what is actually a keyboard? Keyboard is one of the most common input device used in computer system. A computer keyboard is an important device that allows a person to enter symbols like letters and numbers into the computer. It is the main input device for most computers. A keyboard typically contains keys. You can see in this figure, in this picture, there are a number of keys A to Z and other numerical keys and punctuation keys and enter, backspace and other functions keys, caps lock for capital letter input, tab, shift, control, alter, and this one is spacing key, and this is up, down and left, right. So basically a keyboard typically contains keys for individual letters, numbers, special characters as well as keys for specific functions. A keyboard is connected to a computer system with the cable or wireless connection. You can see a keyboard is connected to a computer. This is in this it is shown Raspberry Pi. Raspberry Pi is nothing but it is a kind of controller, or you can say CPU, or you can say processor. In this, your keyboard is connected with the help of wire. So the keyboard with the help of wire. Now next is keyboard operation. Before going to types of keyboard, we will first understand how keyboard is going to work. So there are two main components of keyboard. First is a chip, that is also known as integrated circuit. Second is key matrix that do operation of keyboard. Key matrix is nothing but this is the key matrix. It consists of rows and columns. You can see this is the row and these are the columns. Space between two blue lines is column, while space between two orange lines is known as row. Vertically is column and horizontally is row. Another components are keyboard controller and primary memory of the keyboard. Keyboard controller is nothing but it is an integrated circuit chip to make interface between keyboard and computer system. It reads signal from keyboard matrix and interprets them according to the main program written into its memory. Now there is a primary memory that is known as ROM that stores program related to keyboard, its identification and working, and this ROM is there with keyboard only. So basically it is stored in the integrated circuit only. Now what is the construction of keyboard? So I already told how keyboard is made. Keyboard is made with the help of rows and columns, and you can see this slanting line, or you can say diagonal line, is nothing but a switch. When it is in this condition, you can see it is an open switch. When it is in this condition means when it is touching x-axis as well as y-axis, means horizontal orange line and vertical blue line. When this line touches both the lines, horizontal and vertical, then it is known as closed switch. So rows and columns together make keys, and when the switch is touching the lines, vertical and horizontal, then it will make a short circuit. It will connect, or you can say it will create a closed circuit, and finally a signal is reached that which keys is pressed. uh, and switches are fabricated on these matrices only. So when we press a specific key, a specific row and column got short circuited. That I already told. When this touches the two lines, it makes short circuit. It creates a closed circuit, and then keyboard controller knows which key is pressed. Now it processes that incoming signal and sends signals to CPU. Means this signal, when this key is pressed, this signal will reach to CPU, and CPU will know which key is pressed, and then it will display that specific key on the monitor screen. Now here you can see there are codes. These are known as scan codes related to the keys. For example, Q is having 15 and W is 1D, and similarly other keys are having their scan codes. Means whenever you press this key, 24 is a scan code that will be taken as the information from the key pressed. Now here this is a small diagram, or you can say a flow of how your keyboard controller is working. So when any key is pressed, for example Q is pressed first, that is scan code. Scan code is 15. So keyboard is having scan codes. When any key is pressed, then it will send to keyboard controller. Now keyboard controller interprets the scan code, means it converts character to scan code. Then this scan code is sent to the buffer memory, that is that is there with keyboard, and keyboard's buffer memory stores the scan code, and then that scan code is available at the port is there with the CPU, and at that port the character is available, so that from the CPU BIOS will read the scan code at the particular port. But before BIOS reads anything at the particular code, processor is needed to be interrupted. So to interrupt processor, the interrupt controller will interrupt the processor by sending interrupt signal. Then processor will send interrupt service routine to BIOS, and BIOS will read character from the port that is available at the keyboard port. Now, what are the two functions of BIOS? It first reads the character from buffer at the port, and second it converts scan code to ASCII code. Now, this scan code to ASCII code is the thing we need to make this character display on the monitor. Now this BIOS is having a technique that it converts scan code to ASCII code, and then processor. What does processor will do? Processor will simply send this code to operating system, and then operating system will find out which application is going to use this ASCII code, and then if any specific application is identified, then that key is given to the application 1. Means for example application 1 needs the means it application 1 is the application for the key pressed, then OS will send message to application 1 that key is pressed, and now application will decide what to do with the key pressed. And after it decides what to do with key press, then it will call the operating system, and then operating system will add the particular key to the video card memory, and then this video card memory displays the key pressed on monitor. And also what video card does, it refreshes 70 to 100 times per second, so that whenever there is arrival of new character, it refreshes means it keeps the old character as well as it will keep the new character. So this was the thing when the key Q is arrived. So I will explain it again, that when I am pressing Q, then the keyboard, what happens, scan code of Q is 15, it goes to keyboard controller. Keyboard controller, what it does, it stores in buffer memory 15, then it makes available at the port. BIOS will read that character from the port when processor is interrupted with the interrupt controller. And interrupt, how it will be interrupted by sending the interrupt signal, because port is ready to input the data, so there is an interrupt, so that interrupt signal will be given by the interrupt controller, and after that processor will generate an interrupt service routine for what, to read character from the buffer at the port. Buffer of what? Of keyboard memory. So main task is of processor, interrupt controller, and keyboard controller. So after this, the code 15 is read from the port, and it is stored it is read by the BIOS, and then it is given to the processor, and processor will do, it will give to the operating system, and operating system, what it will do, it will give to specific application, and operating system will find which application needs that particular key, that which application needs 15. For example, there are number of applications like Word, PowerPoint, MS Outlook, etc. But operating system will decide which application needs that. So according to that, it will give application, and operating system will give message to application 1, and application will decide what to do, either to print or to discard. So if application 1 wants to print, then what it does, it will again call to OS, and OS will give order to the video card memory to add this key on in its memory, and then display on the monitor screen. And one more thing, if second character is pressed, what will happen? If second character is pressed, then previous character is removed from the buffer of the keyboard, and second character is added to the buffer of the memory. So here was the working of keyboard controller. Next are, what are the types of keyboard? So these are the types of keyboard: standard, multimedia, internet gaming, membrane, ergonomic, wireless, compact, and virtual. So this is the standard keyboard. It is you can see the size. Standard alphanumeric keyboard. It is also known as QWERTY keyboard, that are 3/4 inch centers and have a key travel of at least 0.15 inches. So desktop computers like these are having 101 keys or 104 key Windows keyboard includes characters, punctuation, symbol, numbers, and variety of function keys. This is the typical keyboard which we are using. Second is multimedia keyboard. Nothing is different, but only these buttons are extra in this. These are additional buttons for controlling audio playback, for starting common application like mail client, web browser, and other auxiliary functionality. This is internet keyboard, a computer keyboard that contains buttons for common internet functions such as launching the web browser. Means by pressing this key you can launch a web browser from your computer. So this kind of keyboard is known as internet keyboard. This definition is for personal use only. Um, Next is gaming keyboard. There is some extra keys available on this kind of keyboard. Uh, so a computer keyboard designed for gamers. For gaming purpose, this kind of keyboard is used. On gaming keyboards, which are mostly mechanical, the key switches requires less depression and result in faster actions for games. There may also be extra keys that are user configurable for macros. So it is similar to QWERTY keyboard but having some extra for slight less depression and more, result is faster. This is membrane keyboard. Membrane keyboards are designed without space between individual keys. The keys are pure sensitive with the different characters outlined on the flat surface. You can see very less space is there between the keys. Ergonomic keyboard is basically designed for the resting of your hands so that it can reduce the strain on the body from typing. And wireless keyboard, it is nothing but a keyboard with no wire. It either connects with a Bluetooth or infrared or radio frequency. It has great flexibility with sizable range of use and versatility. This is compact keyboard. A compact keyboard means a keyboard with small and compact size. It is about the size of laptop keyboard or even smaller. Means some keys are not there. There was a number section and here there is no number section like in laptop. So it also means a smaller keycap size or shorter keycap distance compared to full size. This is a virtual keyboard. These virtual keyboards are mostly you have seen in mobile phones. So, and this is a kind of virtual keyboard which is thrown by this or you can say created by this device which is sending laser and creating this kind of virtual keyboard. So a virtual keyboard is a software component. This kind of software which you are seeing in touch screen laptops or touch screen mobile phones, then this kind of virtual keyboards are needed. So mainly the interaction with these kind of keyboards are with the help of touch screen interface. And thank you very much for the video. And if you want to go for previous lectures, then you can just subscribe and share my channel so that you can get previous as well as your future lectures of the subject. Thank you.